Welcome to Distress to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Reber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental disorders out there, bipolar disorder. Each week, we're going to learn more about my personal journey with the disorder while leaving you enriched with new information on how you can help better yourself as well as those around you. Hello, everyone. Do you live in Texas? Holy moly, y'all. Talk about a week. So for those of you who don't live in Texas, we got hit with this historic snowstorm that came through. So just FYI, South Texas was not built to handle snow because we don't get snow. We don't. It's like a once a couple every years thing. And oh my God, the last time it snowed was 2017. It was January, it might have been January 2018, December 2017-ish, around that time. It snowed overnight. The snow was gone by like 9 a.m. Boom. It was cool to wake up to, and then that's about it. And it's gone. Poof. Disappears. You want to know why? Because it's too hot for snow down here. Like, it's just too hot, and it's humid. So, last week, what happened? Was it last week? No. Oh my God. It was the week before last. Wow. I can't even keep track of the time. 2020 is continuing on, y'all. It's the 15th month of 2020, I swear. Anyways, so the week of Valentine's Day, that's right, because Valentine's was on Sunday, and it was all that following week, it snowed in Houston. But it didn't just snow once. It snowed multiple times over a couple of days. And it was the craziest thing I have ever lived through, y'all. Ever. 80% of Houston was without power and or water, or both. Yeah, that's what and or means. Both. It was awful. And I am so very grateful that we never lost power in our apartment complex. But gosh, man, y'all, I can't even imagine losing power for the whole week and running water for the whole week. We lost running water for a couple of days. We survived, don't worry. We stole water from the fountain in the courtyard of our apartment complex. We saw a bunch of people doing it. And oh my God, my neighbor John described it as the animals going to the watering hole. And picture that. Just picture animals, except they're not animals. They're humans with buckets going to a fountain and stealing water to flush our toilets. Because that is what happened, guys. When you don't have running water, you can't flush a toilet. And wow, yeah. Gosh, once again, I am very grateful and thankful that that was the worst of the experience for us. We had power the whole time. I know a lot of people were without it. I know a lot of people had pipes bust because, guys, again, we're not built for this down here in Texas. We are not supposed to be colder than like 40 degrees. So people's pipes were freezing, and, you know, when water freezes, it expands. A little science there for you. So their pipes were busting, and then you wouldn't know, though, until the ice inside of the pipe started to thaw, and then the water would start running again, and then houses were just being destroyed, and it was really awful. And yeah, man, crazy, crazy time to be alive. Texas, we are tougher than nails. We got through this, and we're moving along because that's what us Texans do. And it was 70 degrees a couple times last week. So if that doesn't, showcase the unpredictability of Houston's weather, well, there you have it, folks. Okay, guys, and another thing. So with announcements being the key theme here, I know I've mentioned my Etsy shop a couple times before that has been in the works. And you probably think it's like not going to happen at this point because I've just said it so many times and you haven't like seen anything, right? Well, while I do understand your, confusion and frustration, I will say that right now, as I speak, the logo for the shop is being finalized. I am super, super excited. My sister is finishing up with that for me, which I appreciate so much. Thank you, Brittany, once again. And I should be getting that up and running no later than the end of March. For real this time. Y'all, that snowstorm. I know we had power and I could have like sewn so much stuff. I don't know if sewn's a real word, but I said it anyways. I could have spent all that time using power during this snowstorm when I couldn't leave my house to sew. But guys, when you haven't showered in a day or 2 or 3 and you're sitting and you're just smelling yourself and you can't brush your teeth without using a water bottle, but you have to conserve your water bottles because the stores don't have anymore and you're afraid to drive, so you have to walk to Walmart half a mile away. Yeah, you kind of lose motivation. You do. So I do understand the point that you're bringing and you're shaking your finger at me while you had a whole week in a snowstorm where you were doing nothing. I hear you. But you got to come from my angle and say, ooh, when I smell really gross, I am not allowed to exercise because, again, I smell gross. I can't shower. And I have to use fountain water with a cup to flush my toilet. I'm just going to lay around and read a book and watch TV. And that's exactly what I did. But the good news is, now that all that's over with, I am getting back to business, like the podcast and sewing for the Etsy shop, and I will be releasing that soon, and I'll be sending out an email. For those of you who are a part of my email club, it's a club. Y'all are in the club. You are in the club. Y'all are VIPs. You are special and important. You will be getting a link announcing whenever the shop does officially open and a special discount code. So if you're not a part of the email club, you have exactly, about a month to get in on that. Head over to the website, whatisheybales.wordpress.com. The link is in this episode, and go to the contact page and you can hit sign up for email information. Yeah, sign up for I think it's the newsletter is what it says on there. Don't quote me on that, but go to the contact page. You'll see where to sign up. I promise. Okay, let's move on into today's topic. What is the Enneagram? Have you ever heard of it? The Enneagram? Yeah, I know that's a really fun word, Enneagram. I like it. And it's a weird word if you've never heard of it before. Trust me, because I used to have never heard of it before. So if you have heard of the Enneagram, I am super, super excited to hear that you have. And I 100% want to know what your type is. So if if you've heard of it, shoot me a message on Instagram and tell me what type you are. And if you have not heard of the Enneagram, well, get ready to learn. Although, just a fair warning, I'm only going to be giving the basics of the Enneagram along with my personal type because the Enneagram is way too complicated and confusing to try and teach you all about it in a 30-ish minute podcast. So I am going to drop the links in the show notes that will include books, the official Enneagram website, and a link that will allow you to take a test to figure out your own Enneagram type. Woohoo! Yes. So don't forget to check out the show notes. Okay, but now I guess I should probably tell you what the Enneagram is, right? I mean, you're probably wondering what these types are and all that kind of stuff means. So, as defined by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the Enneagram is a system of classifying personality types that is based on a 9-point star-like figure inscribed within a circle in which each of the 9 points represents a personality type and its psychological motivations, such as the need to be right or helpful, which influences a person's emotions, attitudes, and behavior. Yeah, after reading that definition to you, do you see why I am not going to go into full on, full depth detail? So, the use of the Enneagram is for participants to strive to become more aware of their own psychological fixations, spiritual problems, patterns of behavior, and ways of relating to other people. So, guys, in January of 2019, when I started seeing my therapist for real, if you listened to last week's episode, you'll know that I kind of fucked around with a lot of my therapy sessions. I guess like 127 of them, I think, was how many I fucked around with. But oh gosh, yes. Listen to last week's episode, you'll understand. But when I started getting super serious with my therapist for the first time ever, which was in January of 2019, she told me, she's like, look, I've mentioned this before. You need to read this book. It's called The Road Back to You by Anne Morgan Cron, and it's about the Enneagram. I need you to read this book. I need you to type yourself and figure out which Enneagram personality type you are, and then we need to talk about this. And I was so serious. I was like, okay, yes, I'm going to do this. And then the library, because, well, guys, I use the library because I'm cheap. Like, I'm cheap. I don't like to pay for things that I don't have to pay for. And the library has hundreds of books that I can read and not have to pay for. So why would I spend money at the store if I could just borrow it for free? Well, in January of 2019, the library had like 60-something friggin' holds on this book, so I couldn't get it within the time frame. And I told my therapist too, and she goes, are you sure? Like, you can't just buy it? Also, I was very bad with finances at this time as well, back then in 2019. So, spending $16 on a book that I wasn't even sure if I was going to enjoy, so it just seemed a little out of the question to me. But nonetheless, I caved because I was so desperate for all of the help I could have got back then. And I bought the book and I read it. And holy moly, when it says here that it helps you learn ways of relating to other people, it really, really does. My God. And I really probably should reread that book because it's a book that I think, first of all, everybody should read. And second of all, I think it's something that we need to be reminded of because all of us, we all are humans. We all make mistakes and we all tend to get kind of stuck in our own ways. But when you open your eyes to the perspectives of all the other billions of humans out in the world, you start to gain a better sense of gratitude, of compassion, and of kindness towards others. You really do. Guys, the old me, the pre-2019 me, was kind of an asshole. I'm not going to lie. I was an unhappy person who only looked at my own unhappiness and thought the world was against me and all of those negative things, right? 2019, I started to put in work, and guys, the Enneagram, it really, really helped me to, like I said, see the world from somebody else's point of view. And it helped me to understand why somebody is doing X, Y, and Z over here that annoys me, but X, Y, and Z actually helps that person. So it shouldn't annoy me as much, knowing that, okay, they're not doing this to piss me off and annoy me. They're doing this to help themselves. Just like I do A, B, and C to help me and help myself. You feel me? Or was that like a twisty up web? I feel like I should I feel like I should give some more information on the Enneagram. I feel like that's what we're going to do. So, Guys, a couple things. This is taken directly from the Enneagram Institute website. So, when you do eventually get around to typing yourself from the Enneagram, it is common to find a little of yourself in all 9 of the types. Although, one of these types should stand out as being the closest to yourself. And that one type is going to be your basic personality type. Everybody emerges from childhood with one of the 9 types dominating their personality, with inborn temperament and other prenatal factors being the main determinants of our type. This is one area where most all of the major Enneagram authors agree that we are born with a dominant type. Subsequently, this inborn orientation largely determines the ways in which we learn to adapt to our early childhood environment. It also seems to lead to certain unconscious orientations toward our parental figures, but why this is so, we still do not know. So I'm going to simplify that one a little bit because I'm like straight up reading this to you from the Enneagram Institute website. These are quotes. But basically what it's saying is that, we're all born with a specific type, and whatever type that we are born with kind of leads to how we grow in the world and how we learn to adapt to the environment in which we grow up in. And then because of our type, there are some unconscious behaviors and ways that we will tend to act towards our parents. And all of the Enneagram authors agree on that, but nobody really knows why that's the case. So, back to quoting the Enneagram. In any case, by the time children are 4 or 5 years old, their consciousness has developed sufficiently enough to have a separate sense of self. Although identity is still very fluid, at this age, children begin to establish themselves and find ways of fitting into the world on their own. Thus, the overall orientation of our personality reflects the totality of all childhood factors, including genetics, that influenced its development. So, to put those in less technical terms, basically, genetics plus the environment that you grew up in between, newborn to 5 will determine what number you turn out to be as an adult. Basically, that's what that means. Okay, so before I move into the 9 different types, here are a couple of things to consider before typing yourself. And once again, all of this information was taken from the Enneagram Institute website, which you can find the link to that in the show notes. Okay, so people do not change from one basic personality type to another. The descriptions of the personality types are universal and apply equally to males and females, as gender is not a factor. Not everything in the description of your basic type will apply to you all the time because you fluctuate constantly among the healthy, average, and unhealthy traits that make up your personality type. The Enneagram uses numbers to designate each of the types because numbers are value neutral. They imply the whole range of attitudes and behaviors of each type without specifying anything either positive or negative. Unlike the labels used in psychiatry, numbers provide an unbiased shorthand way of indicating a lot about a person without expressing disapproval. The numerical ranking of the types is not significant. A larger number is no better than a smaller number. It is not better to be a 9 than a 2 because a 9 is a bigger number. All right, and then lastly, no type is inherently better or worse than any other. While all the personality types have unique assets and liabilities, some types may be considered to be more desirable than others in any given culture or group. Furthermore, for one reason or another, you may not be happy being a particular type. As you learn more about all of the types, however, you will see that just as each has unique assets, each has unique liabilities. The ideal is to become your best self, not to imitate the assets of another type. Ooh, that last line though. The ideal is to become your best self, not to imitate the assets of another type. Ooh, wow. Yes, because guys, I've talked about the Enneagram with a number of different kinds of people. And it's so funny to hear what people have typed themselves as, because some people are so excited to say what their type is. They're like, I'm a 9, and they're just so happy about it. And then you have people who are like, I'm a 4 and I really didn't want to be a 4. And I tried so hard not to be a 4, but in the end, I am a 4. Like, oh, it just cracks me up. And so I really, really like how they kind of put in the things to consider is, dude, just be your best self, man. The whole point of the Enneagram is to learn about yourself, how to be a better self, but also to learn about everyone else. Because when you open your perspective to how everybody else sees the world, you have a lot more reason to be compassionate and kind towards others. And I feel like reason wasn't the best word, but I feel like you have a lot more. Oh my God, there's a much better word for this, and I can't put my tongue on it. Wow. You know what I mean, though? Like, it makes you a better person learning about other people. Yeah, in simple terms. Okay, so what are the types? I know you've been waiting for this. So here we go. In numerical order, 1 through 9. Number 1 is the reformer, the rational, idealistic type. They are principled, purposeful, self-controlled, and perfectionistic. Number 2 is the helper, the caring, interpersonal type. They are demonstrative, generous, people-pleasing, and possessive. Number 3, the achiever, the success-oriented, pragmatic type. They are adaptive, excelling, driven, and image-conscious. Number 4, the individualist, the sensitive, withdrawn type. They are expressive, dramatic, self-absorbed, and temperamental. Number 5, the investigator, the intense, cerebral type. They are perceptive, innovative, secretive, and isolated. Number 6 is the loyalist, the committed, security-oriented type. They are engaging, responsible, anxious, and suspicious. Number 7, the enthusiast, the busy, fun-loving type. They are spontaneous, versatile, distractible, and scattered. Number 8, the challenger, the powerful, dominating type. They are self-confident, decisive, willful, and confrontational. And number 9, the peacemaker, the easygoing, self-effacing type. I think I might have said self-effacing wrong. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. Anyways, number 9, they are receptive, reassuring, agreeable, and complacent. So, after listening to all of the types, can you take a wild guess on which one I am? Oh man, if you've been listening to this podcast from the beginning, then you've probably easily figured it out. Well, I guess I won't keep you on your toes much longer, even though it is a lot of fun. But I am an Enneagram 8. Haha, yes, I am an 8. That should not be shocking at all because, just reflecting back, the 8 is the challenger. Other nicknames that us 8s have are the boss. Oh goodness, I know there's a couple other ones, but the challenger and the boss are the two ones that stand out to me the most because, oh my God, that is totally me. First of all, challenger. Y'all, if you're following any of my Instagram accounts, which you definitely should be, then you will see that I constantly challenge myself in new ways all the time. All the time. I'm always doing some kind of challenge, whether it's a challenge somebody else created or one that I created for myself. And then another way that I'm a challenger is that I challenge the opinions and words and actions of others. So that's a double-edged sword because if you remember from the description, like I just said, the last word, 8s are confrontational. Yes. My God, I have no problem confronting someone about anything. Like, I really don't. And like I said, that's a double-edged sword because sometimes it's good. And sometimes when I'm in a healthy place, it's a good thing. I'm confronting somebody about an issue that I have with them or, in the workplace or, between me and Monish or whatever it may be. And it can be a very good thing. But then there are other times when I get confrontational and I might not be in the right, mindset, the right headspace. Might be a little angry in the moment and being confrontational might not be the best idea. Oh, I'm cringing saying that. You can't see my face. It's a cringy face because, oh man, yeah. Hate to admit it, but confrontation when I'm angry is not always the best route. Other things about us, we are very, God, one of our nicknames is the boss. We like to be in charge. We like to take control. We like to be the leader. And there's lots of really good things about 8s, but just like every number on the Enneagram, guys, there are the really great things that you're good at and the good qualities, but there's also the not so good. And that is the point of the Enneagram and typing yourself. Because when you can figure out the things that are not so good about you, you can be aware and you can learn what to do to lessen those. Like me, my anger. My anger is a big one. Oh God, it's a big one. So some of the things I do for my anger is, first of all, go back to episode number 3 of season 2, I believe. Anger management, Bailey's way, and you'll find out exactly what I do to manage my anger because I know that's a problem. Another thing that 8s, I think I'm pretty sure this is an 8 thing, is that we don't like being wrong. And so one of the things, I don't know if I read this in a Brene Brown book or if I heard it on a podcast, but one of the things that I do and I've done in the past, and I'm working on doing it a lot more again in recent times because I need a refresher on this, is admitting out loud when I am wrong. And that's about anything. I could be talking with, my friend Katie about the score of the Astros game. I don't know. And I could say, oh yeah, I swear it was this. And she's like, no, I'm pretty sure it was that. And so when we go and we look and we see who was right, I have been working on saying out loud to myself that I was wrong. Guys, that's hard for me to admit. And for years, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't admit to it. And that's really bad when building relationships because when you don't own up to when you're being wrong, That causes lots of problems, especially when you are wrong. You need to own up when you're wrong. And for some of y'all are probably like, wow, like that's the easiest thing for me to do. And I'm like, oh, teach me your ways. But see, like, because I sat down and I read The Road Back to You by Ian Morgan Cron, which is what was recommended by my therapist, I learned about myself, what flaws I have that I need to work on and get better at them not being so overbearing. Also, I can see what I'm good at too from the Enneagram, which kind of it gives you more self-confidence when you see, oh, these are the things I'm good at. But then, guys, reading this book, I didn't just read about Enneagram 8 and just be like, okay, like I'm done. This is my type. I'm good. No, I read about all of them. And because I've read about all of them, sometimes when some of my friends act in certain ways, now, granted, another thing, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but you're not supposed to type anyone else. You are not. Everybody's supposed to type themselves because only they know what type they are. This is a childhood born intuition from within thing, as I've said a million other times. Yes, but because I've learned about the Enneagram, when I see friends do certain things, or coworkers, or classmates, or whatever, when I see them do things, I can sit there and think, okay, maybe they're doing it like this because of this, or maybe they are acting like this because they really feel like this and they don't otherwise know how to express themselves. You take things a lot less personally when you learn that not everybody does the things like you do. That they're not being malicious. They're literally just doing something different and it came off negatively towards you. And you have two options. Take it negatively or don't. Or confront them and ask them to do something a little bit different. Because I'm an 8 and I'm confrontational. Anyways, but yes, so I know that wasn't like super in depth, but that's okay because now you get to do some work on your own. You can check out the book for yourself. The link is going to be in the show notes as well. But I've also in the show notes included a couple of different links where you can type yourself via a quiz online. The quizzes are great. I do think that it's something that you should do, but I also really highly recommend that you also check out the Ian Morgan Cron book or any other Enneagram related books because you're going to learn a lot more by reading about it. And I encourage you to. You're going to help make the world a better place by doing so. And you yourself will feel a lot better about those around you. I know I did. Oh my gosh. I need to reread this book because I remember reading it back in the beginning of 2019 and just thinking, wow, okay, that's why so-and-so might, like, this is why so-and-so probably does this or blah, blah, blah. And I would get less angry at people when they did things that made zero sense to me because now it made a little more sense to me. Haha. All right. Well, before we wrap things up, guys, I'm not sure how I missed this last episode, but whoops. Sorry, y'all. It is time for What a Weirdo! I'm so sorry. I don't know how I missed this in the last episode. I guess I was just too excited. My weirdo thing that I'm going to admit to this week is, oh my God, I love to pluck eyebrow hairs. Yes. That might not sound weird, but guys, like, it gets obsessive. Like, obviously it's my own eyebrow hairs, right? But like, you can't overpluck. You can't. Like, overplucking just gives you eyebrows like the early 2000s when they were so nasty and skinny and just like little McDonald's M's on their faces. I said their faces because I never got into that trend. But overplucking is a bad thing. So this is really, I really hope he doesn't kill me for saying this on here. I might get in trouble, guys, but I also pluck my boyfriend's eyebrows. Yes. And his are way more fun to pluck. Way more fun. So here's the weirdo coming out. I don't like shape his eyebrows and do all that like I do with mine. No. That's too much. But he'll get some hair that kind of grows in between the middle. It's not like a full-on unibrow. Like, it's not a full-on unibrow. No. But there's some hairs that just don't need to be there. And he used to like electric shave them off, but then they just like grow back all fuzzy and whatnot. And so now I pluck them. And it fascinates me, guys. He's got really nice hair just in general. So he's got like thick eyebrows. And so when I pluck the eyebrows, there's just so much of it that's under the skin, like the root of it. And it fascinates me. It literally fascinates me. Like, I'll pluck one and be like, wow, look how much was under the skin. And he just looks at me and he laughs and he's like, you're so weird. And I'm like, this is so much fun. I enjoy it. So, like, sometimes we'll be laying there cuddling and I'll look at I'll look in between his eyebrows and I'll see one that I just really want to get. And he'll be like, no, not today, because he doesn't like the pain of it. Like, no pain, no gain, y'all. My eyebrows have been plucked since I was in high school. I've been having this pain for over a decade now. It gets better. Oh, yeah. But, okay, so that's my weirdo for this week. My what a weirdo thing. And, guys, I don't know if I mentioned this previously, but this segment is, one, it's to have fun and give some laughs and giggles, of course. But two, it's also designed to kind of normalize these weird things that we're all doing anyways. The more I spew some of these things out and y'all start to spew these things out, y'all are going to all come together and realize that you do them too. And you're going to be like, oh, thank you. It's not just me. I'm not the only one who does this. Like, I can't wait to start getting messages from you guys saying that. Like, please, if you do one of these things that I do, send me a message. I need to know. I want to know who else is in on this with me. We're not alone. We're in this together. It's great. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to the show. I appreciate you so much. And if you enjoyed this episode, dude, take a screenshot of it. Post it on your social media. Tag Distressed to Joyful _Bailey's Way on Instagram. You can also help spread the word about how much you've been enjoying the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcast, because I really appreciate that and I love reading them and they just make my heart so happy because y'all are awesome and I appreciate you. Yes, alrighty. So, until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye!